Hey everyone, I just wanted to do a quick run through video of RC Lap Timer. RC Lap Timer is an open source RC lap timing application that I built just for casual backyard, basement, garage racing. So I just wanted to put together a short video showing you how it works and some of the features. Then you can follow the instructions in the repo to get started on your own and have fun doing some casual racing. This is designed to run on a Raspberry Pi Zero 2W. So you can pick those up for about $15, $20. I'll include links in the description showing you where you can download the image and flash it to a card. And once you get it flashed and you start your Raspberry Pi up, it's going to start a Wi-Fi network called RC Lap Timer. So you want to make sure you connected to RC Lap Timer, the network. And then open up your browser and go to HTTPS, RC Lap Timer, and you'll see the application interface. And so in this video, I'm going to talk about adding drivers, cars, and locations, and how you can time some sessions. So if it's the first time you've used the application, the first thing you're going to want to do is create at least one driver. So let's set up a new driver. We'll set up Alice. We can also put Bob in here. Once we have a driver, we can add one or more cars for him. So we'll go back to Alice. Alice today is going to be racing her slash 4x4. She's also got a slash two-wheel drive as well. But like I said, she's going to be racing her 4x4. Let's get a location in there. We'll just say today we're racing in the school parking lot. And then how many laps? Unlimited just means you can run as many laps as you want until you manually end the session. If you pick a fixed number of laps, the session will end automatically after the last lap. So let's go ahead and pick our laps. Up here at the top, I forgot to mention announcements. We have some options. We'll go ahead and check them all so you can see what they do. But announce lap numbers is going to announce the current lap number that you're on. Announce the last lap time. Every time you finish a lap, you'll get a verbal announcement of what the last lap time was. And then play beeps. Play beeps will play an audible beep when the session starts, every time a lap is recorded, and at the end. We'll go ahead and check all those, and now we're ready to start our timing session. You see we have two options here for our timing mode. We can time using the UI or user interface. We can also use motion detection. So right now we'll use UI timing mode. We'll talk about motion detection in just a minute. In UI timing mode, a timer, whoever's timing the session, is going to use these buttons here to control the timing session, to start the session, to record each lap, and then to stop it, as well as adding a penalty. So this UI mode requires at least two people, the driver and then the person timing that driver. But there's a couple things you might want to use UI mode for. First of all, this is the only mode where you can have more than one car on the track at the same time. So you can have multiple different people and each person is timing a different car. And then you can have multiple cars on the same track. You can't do that with motion detection. The other thing you can do in UI mode is assign a penalty. And you can use penalties for whatever you want. A penalty could be someone backing up on the track or jumping a lane or crashing or something like that. So let's go ahead and record 3 laps for Alice. We'll start the timing session.
Timing session started.
And you'll see we get the total time as well as the current lap time. When the car goes by our timing point or the start-finish line, we can hit record lap.
Lap 2 started. Last lap time 12.54.
You can hear the announcements. Go ahead and add a penalty for this lap and we'll record it.
Lap 3 started. Last lap time 10.36.
Now we're on our last lap.
Timing session ended. Last lap time 7.29.
All right. So at the bottom of this tab, you'll see our recent sessions. This always shows the 3 most recent sessions. And right now we've only recorded 1, so we only see 1. But here's Alice's results. You can see the fastest lap, the slowest lap, the number of penalties on each lap. And if I want to, I could delete this information, delete this session altogether if I don't want to keep it. All right, let's go back and let's talk about motion detection. Motion detection mode is really handy if you're just out by yourself, if you don't have someone to time for you. Motion detection mode is going to use the camera on your phone or tablet or whatever kind of device you're using to detect when your car passes through the frame. So when we change to motion detection, we get some camera controls down here. I'll start off by talking about our settings. Sensitivity controls how sensitive the motion detector is. So if you're having trouble, if your car isn't registering every time it goes past the camera, you might want to turn the sensitivity up. If you're getting a lot of false readings, you might want to turn the sensitivity down. I'm going to leave it at 100. That's usually a good place to start. Threshold, this is what percentage of the frame has to change in order for it to count as motion being detected. And so you can play around. This will depend kind of where your camera is set up. What you want is a value small enough that your car is getting recorded every time it goes around, but not so small that any tiny little motion like a bug flying around in the background or something will trigger it. So you kind of have to play around with these settings based on where you put your camera and what the lighting conditions are like and such. Cooldown, this is the number of seconds, or I guess milliseconds, that after it records motion, it's going to wait to try and detect it again. This is really helpful for preventing you from recording false laps. So let's say I'm on a track, I drive a couple test laps, and it's taking me about 15 seconds on a good lap to get around. Well, I might want to leave it here at 10 seconds or 10,000 milliseconds. And this means every time a lap gets recorded, it's going to ignore the next 10 seconds and only start looking for motion again during that last few seconds of my lap. So it's always good to set this cooldown to a number that you're pretty sure you would never be able to get even on your fastest lap. So if it's taking me 15 seconds to get around the track, I'm probably not going to shave 5 seconds off of that. And then last but not least, frames to skip. This says after the camera is turned on, how many frames are going to get ignored before it starts looking for motion. And so this is helpful. You know, sometimes when your camera turns on, it has to focus or adjust to, bright light or dim light, and that can be counted as motion. So if you're getting a lap recorded or a session starting right when the camera turns on, you might want to come and turn up this frames to skip setting. So I'll turn this up a little bit here. And then once we get some settings we like, we can save them. So I'll save these as my demo settings. And when I save them, I can go back to them at any time. So if I get a completely different set here and I want to go back to where I was, I can just go to demo. All right, so next I want to talk a little bit about preview mode. This is how you can test your settings. Preview mode allows you to test motion detection without recording any laps or starting any sessions. The first thing you want to check if you're going to use preview mode is come up here to the top. Just make sure you got play beeps enabled. That way you'll get a beep every time motion is detected. And that'll let you know how your settings are working. The second tip is I would temporarily turn down the cooldown period. If you have it up real high, 10, 15, 20 seconds, that's a lot of time to kill between driving your car in front of the camera and waiting. So turning it down, you can test a little bit quicker. But the idea here is you can hit preview. You'll see the camera comes on. And I've got a little toy car here. I'm just going to scroll through the frame. And if we hear it beep, we know that motion detection is working. All right, so there we go. We'll test it one more time. All right, so we can go ahead and stop preview. Now we found some settings that work pretty good. I'll turn my cooldown back up. All right, so now that we've got some settings that work, Let's go ahead and actually record a session using motion detection. So we have to make sure that we've got a driver, car, location, and number of laps selected. We already have that from last time. And then we'll go ahead and hit the cam on button. When we do, a session will start as soon as motion is detected. So here comes our car through the frame.
Timing session started.
As the car comes again, you'll hear the lap number announcement and the lap time announcement.
Lap 2 started. Last lap time 11.11.
Here we go again. Whoop.
Lap 3 started. Last lap time 9.08.
All right, and here we go to end the session.
Timing session ended. Last lap time 8.20.
So just like before, the lap gets recorded. Again, the only real difference between motion detection and UI timing is there's no penalties you can assign in motion detection. You only need one person. You can do it by yourself, but you really are limited to just having one car on the track. All right, now that you've seen the basics, let's look at some of the other features here. If we go over to the next tab, this is our session management tab. So you can connect multiple devices to this Wi-Fi network. So if a timing session is in progress and you've got your phone or tablet or whatever connected, and you want to see results from the current session, you can see it right here under current session. Below that is request a session. So this is used with motion detection. You might set up your phone on a tripod in a good place where you can capture your car going by, but maybe you're driving on the other side of the track. And so every time you finish a session, you have to put down your transmitter, walk over to your phone, set up a new session, walk back. That can get kind of old. So request a session lets you request a timing session. So let's go ahead and do one for Alice, this time under / two-wheel drive. She'll just do 2 laps. And then I can hit submit request. And then pretend I'm over on another device here on my phone, which I'm actually using to do recording. Well, as soon as I enable remote control, you'll see all this selection for driver, car, location. All that goes away because that's all contained in the request. It'll switch to motion detection mode if it's not already there. The camera will automatically turn on and we'll start recording a new session. So I'll go ahead and check this.
Session request received.
And you can see, sure
Session
enough,
started.
the camera's on. We'll go ahead and stop it.
Timing session ended.
But as long as I leave this checked, any other device on the network can submit a timing request and this will pick it up and start recording. So that prevents you having to walk back and forth. Below request a session, you get to see all your previous sessions. So you can pick the date range, you can set a custom date range, and then you can filter. You want to look at all drivers. When you pick a driver, you can filter the cars. You can filter by location and see all the different session results, and of course go through and delete ones you don't want. The third tab here is our best laps comparison. So this just shows you the best lap time from each session, ranked from fastest to slowest. And you get similar filters here for driver, car, and time period. Session comparison lets you take 2 different sessions and graph them out. So you can compare different session runs, different locations, and see how you're doing, get a visual indicator. Then there's session notes. Maybe you want to enter some notes about track conditions, temperature, setup, what oil you're using, and the shock, something like that. We can come here and select your session, enter my notes about the session, and then I can save. And then anytime I come back to this session, you'll see there are my notes, and I can go back and continue editing them, add more, and just gives me a place to save notes about that particular session or setup. And then last but not least, the application configuration tab. I can come in here and rename drivers, add drivers, delete drivers. Maybe we get another Alice in our group, and so we want to rename Alice to Alice 1. Well, now I've renamed Alice 1. And you'll see if I go back and look at any old sessions, I'll see these are from Alice 1 now. I can do the same thing with a car, rename or delete a car. If you delete any of these items like a driver or a car, you'll delete all the session data associated with them as well. I can do the same thing for location, add, edit, or delete a location. I can edit or delete, edit the name of or delete one of my motion settings for the camera. And then finally, I have some system settings for the Raspberry Pi. I can change the device name on the network, change the Pi or the root user password, change the Wi-Fi network name. So if you're hanging out with friends and you have multiple lap timer devices, each one should have a unique name. You can go ahead and change that. And then put in a unique password if you want to change the default. When you do click save, the device will reboot with those new settings. So make sure those are the settings you want. And that's it. That's RC Lap Timer. Like I said, all this is open source, so feel free to check out the repo, fork, open issues, make suggestions, anything like that. Links in the below in the description for setting up and imaging the Pi card. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy it. Most importantly, I hope it gets you out there doing a little racing and having some fun with your RCs.